We start tonight with breaking news about the 9-year-old boy who flew from Minneapolis to Las Vegas. Within the last hour, the airport gave us brand new details about how he got through security. Now we know how he got past that first TSA agent. 5 Eyewitness News reporter Tim Cherno's live at the airport tonight with these breaking details. Tim?
Well, one of the things that we checked out is that the boy's mother might actually work here at the airport. I talked to airport spokesman Pat Hogan, who told me he could neither confirm nor deny that information, citing concerns over the boy's privacy. And about that boy, we're getting a better sense of him by tracking his movements, everything he did and how he did it the day he caught his flight to Vegas. Wednesday is almost a dry run. The boy steals a bag, heads to a restaurant outside security. The boy who successfully stole a bag on Wednesday was not so lucky on Thursday. Airport authorities tell me this is what they see when they watch surveillance video of the area. They say the boy goes to a carousel, he takes a bag, but moments later is approached by a man who it appears to be the rightful owner of the bag. The boy gives the bag back and then continues on his day. A few steps in that direction. Keep in mind, it's a busy business travel day, but not for the boy. Airport officials tell me next, surveillance videos show the boy apparently killing time, riding up and down on the escalators for several minutes until he seemed to be done with that, and then he went upstairs to ticketing. On the ticketing level, surrounded by busy travelers, the boy makes his move. He's done riding the escalators, and the story picks up here at checkpoint 4. Keep in mind, all of this is captured on surveillance video. We're told the boy gets in line with passengers who have tickets. When they get to the checkpoint, the agent is busy, and the boy simply slips past and heads to the gate. There, we're told, he's seen talking with a gate agent before moving off to the side and waiting 20, maybe 30 seconds until the gate agent helps another customer. That's his opportunity. The boy walks onto the plane. Now, as for that boy, we understand tonight that he is still in Las Vegas. He is still in child protective custody wearing a GPS tracking ankle bracelet. And we also understand that there is a court hearing scheduled for this incident tomorrow. Live at the airport, Tim Cherno, 5 Eyewitness News.
And we also talked to one of the only people who saw the boy the day before he jumped on that plane. That day, he went into the restaurant Hot Dish outside security, ordered some drinks and some food. He told the server he had to use the bathroom, and then he walked out on his check. One of the servers had this to say about that boy.
I think he's a little con artist. And people beware. Beware of him because I've never seen anything like that before. I've never heard of anything like this.
Tomorrow morning, we'll be in contact with Child Protective Services about that hearing. We'll also check with the TSA and Delta Airlines and our sister station in Las Vegas. We'll keep you up to date with what happens next on air and online at KSTP.com. Leah?
When money starts flowing into the new Vikings Stadium, a state lawmaker wants to know how much is coming in, how it's being spent by the Minnesota Sports Facilities Authority. State Representative Mary Liz Holberg says that current law allows the money flow to be kept a secret. She wants that to change. When we heard that, we sent our watchdog team to get answers, and here now is Jake Holtz.
That shiny new People's Stadium will be built on the backs of taxpayers. More than half of the billion-dollar cost comes from the public.
All those in favor?
This group of people runs the new stadium, and they are the target of a lawmaker who's worked at the Capitol for 16 years.
They have more protection for their information than any other entity that I've ever seen, and they also enjoy the largest subsidy of tax dollars. It just doesn't seem right.
Mary Liz Holberg is former Speaker Pro Tem in the House. She told us money from the Vikings games, concerts, truck shows, and other events at the new stadium, as written in the current law, does not have to be made public by the Minnesota Sports Facilities Authority.
To what degree revenue is coming in off of the investment of the tax dollars? Is it going into the pocket of the team, or is it going to defer costs incurred by the taxpayers? I think in many instances we won't know.
Holberg's bill would make it all public, including what is spent on future operating expenses, capital improvements, and repairs over the 30-year lease.
So how do you know where the money's going?
I don't think you do, and that's why this is so wrong.
So I asked her, how did it get into the law in the first place?
This is a problem in part because it was added to a bill in the dark of night. It was not included on either side.
Now, we asked the Minnesota Sports Authority to respond to Representative Holberg's bill, but they did not return our calls or several emails today. And we also tried reaching the authors of the stadium bill, but we did not hear back from them either.
Jay, she'd need support from Democrats to get this passed. How likely is it that that's going to happen?
Well, she's been around a long time, and she told me she does have Democratic support for this. Now, keep in mind, there's an interesting comparison here. The Twins Ballpark Authority was created to oversee Target Field. That's run completely different. All of the finances there are open to the public, and they have to do a comprehensive financial report every year like they've done for the last 5 years. So it'll be interesting to see how this proceeds in the legislative session.
I know. Keep watching it, Jay. Thanks.
Yep.
You know, last week the stadium agreement was finally signed. The Vikings say that the portion coming from the Wilf family will be about $100 million. It's about 10% of the project. Let's take a look at the breakdown of the funding. The state and the city of Minneapolis are responsible for $498 million. The money comes from electronic gaming and one-time taxes. The Vikings and the Wilfs are on the hook for the other $477 million. They won't pay that much, though, because the NFL will loan $200 million and fans will pay another $100 million in personal seat licenses.
A concern about civilian casualties is what caused Navy SEAL Team 6 to pull back during a weekend raid in Somalia. SEALs withdrew after an hour firefight at a beachfront compound believed to be holding an al-Shabaab leader linked to the mall bombing last month in Kenya.
The commander on the ground made the right decision to withdraw his forces, so I would not call it a failure by any means.
Meanwhile tonight, the al-Qaeda leader snatched at nearly the same time by Delta Force in Libya is being interrogated on the USS San Antonio somewhere in the Mediterranean. Abu Abbas al-Libi is a potential intelligence goldmine if he talks. He's one of the founding fathers of al-Qaeda. He's under indictment for the 1998 deadly bombings of 2 U.S. embassies in Africa that killed 224 people. Tonight, we are hearing from a brave Pakistani teenager shot in the head by the Taliban for supporting education for girls. 1 year later, Malala Yousafzai is sharing her story in an exclusive interview with Diane Sawyer.
When I almost died, it was just after midday.
Malala was on the school bus with other girls when a gunman stopped the bus. He got on board and asked, "Who is Malala?" Then fired 3 shots at her point blank.
On the day when I was shot, all of my friends' faces were covered except mine.
Was that wise? It was brave, but was it wise?
I wanted to live my life as I want.
Miraculously, Malala survived that attack. She's now a champion for human rights and the youngest person ever nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. You can see Diane Sawyer's full exclusive interview with Malala on 2020 this Friday. Malala's autobiography will be released tomorrow.
Here's a name you're going to be hearing a lot more of in Minnesota, Josh Freeman. He is signed, sealed, and delivered now to the Minnesota Vikings. They now have 3 quarterbacks, though, who've started this year. Sports Director Joe Schmidt is here now, and you were out at Winter Park this morning, and it's going to get interesting.
They call that a logjam, I think what they call that. But Josh Freeman is probably studying his playbook tonight. He has to learn a new system before he plays in a game for the Vikings. He will not start this Sunday, but the Vikings did not sign Freeman to sit on the bench. He's a quarterback with a big arm and the potential to put up big numbers. He beat the Vikings the last 2 years at the Dome. Last year, he passed for over 4,000 yards and 27 touchdowns. He spoke to the media tonight via conference call.
I'm not saying that I was promised anything. I was not. The only thing I was promised was an opportunity to be a part of a first-class organization. I'm stoked. I'm really pumped to be here. I can't wait to hop off this phone call and get to work.
Freeman will be on the practice field Wednesday. He said that he isn't thinking about starting. He just wants to be a part of this team. That entire teleconference is available at KSTP.com.
All right, well, the big question now with the team is, what about Christian Ponder?
Well, it seems that the Vikings maybe have moved on from Christian Ponder. He's still part of the team. He still has a future in the NFL, but probably not with the Minnesota Vikings. We'll have more on that and hear from Christian in sports.
Okay, Joe, thanks. Bill?
A 6th suspect is being sought for the robbery and murder of an Annandale man. There's a warrant out for 18-year-old Preston Sanchanthaleth. Sanchanthaleth is described as an Asian man, 5 feet 5 inches tall, with brown eyes and brown hair. The Wright County Sheriff's Office believes he might be in the St. Cloud area. 5 others have been arrested in connection with the murder of Kyle Green 2 weeks ago. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This year, it's all the more important to recognize it after several cases that we've reported recently ending fatally. Tonight, the local advocacy group Cornerstone Advocacy held a vigil to remember the more than 30 women killed in Minnesota and the many more victimized by domestic abuse this year. This event's in Eden Prairie, the hometown of missing woman Mandy Matula. She's been missing since May. Her family's organized many searches but has yet to find any closure in that case.
The seasons are changing and the temperatures will soon be dropping at some point. So now's the time to start thinking about keeping kids in need warm this winter. Our Ellen McNamara shows us how we can help.
This is my dog, Harry, and as you can see, he's ready for the winter with his coat. But so many kids in our area don't have coats. Volunteers are standing by right now to take your call.
That's right, our Coats for Kids campaign is going on right now. What you got to do is call this number, 651-746-3563. All it takes is $17 to buy a Minnesota child a new coat this winter. The phone bank is open until the end of this newscast at 11 o'clock tonight. Your donations have been generous all day long, so please keep them coming tonight. Straight ahead, a man is injured. He's laying in a hospital bed, and his family is trying to help, but there's a problem.
I call the IRS number and all I get is due to the government shutdown, and it's hard not to get irritated.
Well, because of the government shutdown, Wade Souster's family cannot set up a benefit bank account. Coming up, see why something so small is blocking large donations. And he's only 8 years old, but he has captured a nation's heart with this touchdown at Nebraska's spring football game. We have an update to Jack's story after 60 weeks of intense chemotherapy. And the Archbishop announces a new task force to handle allegations of sexual misconduct. Why some say it's nothing more than a publicity stunt.
And this is the time of the year when you start out the day with a light coat, but you end up in shirt sleeves. I'm going to show you how warm we expect it to get with our forecast in just a couple of minutes.
We have no idea how long he'd just been left on the side of the road. And I think that's what hurts us, is that he was just left.
This is 31-year-old Wade Souster. This picture was taken of him in a hospital bed just this morning. He was hit by a car sometime early last Thursday morning in St. Paul. This happened near the intersection of Phelan and Atlantic. He has a significant brain injury, multiple facial fractures, and bruising of the lungs. He's on a ventilator that helps him breathe now. Well, tonight, his family is faced with even more obstacles. They can't set up a benefit fund to help pay for his medical expenses, and it's because of the government shutdown. Now, Steve Tellier is here to explain what this is all about. Steve?
Leah, this is one of those effects of the government shutdown that few people anticipated, and it has potential impacts for all small business and nonprofit startups as well. The victim in this case has minimal insurance, so his medical bills are massive. His family says dozens of people have made offers, but there is not a good way to help.
Just want prayers and answers.
Wade Souster can't even breathe on his own.
He'll try to squeeze my fingers, but I got to put my fingers inside.
His hands are.
His road to recovery is long and uncertain, as is his family's effort to help him.
We're stuck. We're kind of in limbo.
Right now, this is the only way folks can donate to his recovery, a collection jar at the Downtowner car wash in St. Paul, where Souster has worked for years.
Yeah, we've been pretty busy.
Employees here are asking everyone to help any way they can.
Was an operation.
His family has tried to set up a benefit bank account for larger donations, but can't do it.
The government shut down. I need a little digit number to get him the help that he needs.
That little digit number is an employer identification number, or EIN. Anyone starting a business, charity, nonprofit, or even just a bank account for tax-exempt donations has to have one to get up and running. The problem is they come from the IRS, and only the IRS.
I call the IRS number and all I get is due to the government shutdown, and it's hard not to get irritated.
Souster's family can't get that number and can't find a way around it.
As many phone calls as I've made, even the banks don't know what to do.
It is one more worry for a family that already has far too many.
We're devastated. We don't understand. But at the same time, we just want answers. More than anything, we want answers.
We spoke with several officials from banks and nonprofit groups today. No one knew of a way around this issue. The family is turning down offers of cash because they don't want it considered income and have to have it taxed by those same people at the IRS. Leah?
All right, we wish nothing but the best for that family, Steve. Thanks. As the government shutdown gets set to enter its second week, attention now turns to a deadline that's just 10 days away. That's when the U.S. government will hit its debt limit. Officials say that Democrats are putting together legislation that would raise the debt limit, but wouldn't include any of the conditions that Republicans were hoping to attach. Today, leaders of the House and the Senate went back and forth about how they could reopen the government. Republicans insist that there be spending cuts. President Obama says he will not negotiate unless Republicans drop their demands over delaying the health care law. The shutdown impact on Minnesota jobs is growing as well, and we're going to show you more about that coming up at our 10:30 half hour.
Tonight, we're learning of some heavy losses after this weekend's record-breaking snowstorm in South Dakota. Some ranchers lost half of their cattle herds, and the sheriff's office says a man near Deadwood died after collapsing while cleaning snow off his roof. The storm dumped heavy snow all over the Black Hills. It damaged trees and power lines, leaving thousands of customers still without power. Dave, it is hard to believe that just a state over that is going on when we've had such mild weather around here.
Yeah, they got 4 to 5 feet, Bill, in parts of the Black Hills, especially around the Deadwood area. But for us, of course, we're on the warm side of all that. Even central South Dakota got up to 75 today around Pierce, so a lot of that snow is going to melt over the next several days. The big story for us is we have not had an official frost or freeze yet. That normally happens around October 10th. This year it might be about the October 15th before we get that. So it's going to be a little later than that average date. Highs this week in the 70s. One of the reasons why we're pushing back that frost. 10 degrees above average. The average high is now down to 62. Our next chance of rain comes in Friday, and that's going to come in with a weak cool front. It will drop our temperatures a little bit by the weekend. Of course, not much showing up with clear skies out there across most of Minnesota. And that's also caused the temperatures to drop off fairly quickly. It's down to 46 in Blaine. For you folks in New Richmond, down to 44. Red Wing, 45. From the heart of the Twin Cities westward, most of the readings are in the 50s. And you can see that warmer air sitting over southwestern Minnesota. But then as you go northeastward, much cooler. 34 in Grand Marais, just above freezing there. 36 up in Hibbing. Yeah, it's going to be a cool night for a large part of the east. I think here in the central and western portions of the state, temperatures are going to stay a little bit warmer. We're at 54, the dew point 43, so the air is pretty dry. We should drop in the lower 50s, back up to 55 by 8, 70 by noon, and then a strong south wind at 15 to 25 is going to push that temperature up to about 78 for the high. And again, the average high is 62, so we're well above that again tomorrow. Around the rest of the metro, 78 in Eden Prairie, 75 in Faribault, 77 in Red Wing. 77 as well in Blaine. All of these numbers well above average, even up to the Canadian border, looking at 70 for the high, even in International Falls. Cloud Tracker doesn't have a lot of cloud cover to track tonight or tomorrow or the next day, all the way into Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, into Wednesday. Same story. A few clouds up in northern Minnesota, but mainly sunshine here in the southern part of the state. So again, overnight tonight, it is going to cool down a little bit. This is the kind of time of the year when the kids bring the coats on the bus in the morning and probably leave it there for the afternoon. So you're probably going to need to check the lost and founds. 52 to start out the day tomorrow morning, and then by the afternoon way up to 78. Sunny and windy. South winds 15 to 25 as we look ahead. 75 on Wednesday, still in the 70s all the way through Friday. There's the cool front that comes through. 60s for highs over the weekend, and some more showers by early next week.
And glad to hear it's not just my kids, Dave. Well, despite 70s in the forecast, it's still that time of year to start thinking about keeping our kids warm this winter. That's why we're asking for your donations to our Coats for Kids drive with Salvation Army. There are 2 ways you can take action. A $17 donation buys a new winter coat for a child, or you can drop off your gently used coats at Cub Foods or Kowalski stores. Our Joe Schmidt gives us a look at what he's donating.
Please be generous and donate some coats for kids. Keep some kids warm this winter. I'm going to donate these 2 coats right now. It's a good thing that my high school Letterman jacket still fits me perfectly, that I don't have to donate this. But I will donate an additional $17 for another coat. Went to high school, toughest 5 years of my life, but I got this jacket.
I wonder if he wears that outside of the house. Our phone bank will be open until the end of this newscast. Volunteers are waiting to take your call right now. Call us now at 651-746-3563 to help keep Twin Cities kids warm this winter. Well, still ahead tonight, an update on a little boy who inspired the nation. Remember this? A 7-year-old battling cancer makes a 69-yard touchdown run during a Nebraska Huskers game. Tonight, he's celebrating something much bigger. Plus, a Minnesota native is making our state look smart, really smart. Hear what medical breakthrough he discovered, important enough to win the Nobel Prize.
Tonight, a young boy with the gift to inspire others is doing it again. You may remember 8-year-old Jack Hoffman. He's a young Nebraska football fan you see right here. He's battling brain cancer. Well, he lifted spirits when the team let him sprint down the field to score a touchdown.
Felt like being a real Husker. super duper awesome.
When he went out on the field, for about the first time, kind of let myself enjoy it.
He is super awesome. Now an even bigger victory. After 60 grueling weeks of chemotherapy, more than a year, Jack's cancer is now in remission.
Really happy.
I'm so incredibly proud of him. He has been very brave along the way.
He has just been incredible to watch his story and just an amazing attitude.
My heart warmed when I heard this great news today. Yeah.
We're glad to see he's doing better. Well, around here, we're on a mission tonight. We need your help to keep Minnesota kids warm this winter.
Today, we kicked off our annual Coats for Kids drive with the Salvation Army. Meteorologist Ken Barlow shows us how you can help.
Here in the Barlow house, we have 3 kids. Now, one is still here. 2 of them are grown and gone to college, and one of them actually moved out. But just because they've moved out and gone on to college doesn't mean they haven't left things behind. And parents, you know what I mean. And if your kid's left behind something they've grown out of and you'd like to give, and it's gently used, we'd love to have it. So give it at your local Cub and Kowalski's and help keep a kid warm this winter.
And our phone bank is up and running right now. We'll stay open until the end of this newscast at 11 o'clock. You have about 30 minutes to make your donation. Call us right now at 651-746-3563 if you'd like to help us out. A health hazard at the U of M forces students out of their dorms. What the school discovered and what it's doing to fix the problem.
The Archbishop announces a new task force to handle allegations of sexual misconduct. How will it work, and is it enough? That story is straight ahead.
Plus, more Minnesotans on notice. They might be furloughed because of the government shutdown. And here is what's coming up tonight on Jimmy Kimmel Live at 11.
Tonight we have music from Korn and the cast of Modern Family is here. Everybody smile.
If you want to call somebody, just let me know.
Stars, they really are just like us.
Look at them.
Oh my God, look at this. It's hilarious.
It's not the biggest religion in Minnesota, but still more than 1 out of every 4 Minnesotans consider themselves Catholic. So that means there are around 1.5 million Catholics here in the state. And now the Archdiocese of St. Paul, Minneapolis is dealing with some major allegations. Tonight, there are accusations that a high-ranking priest helped cover up a child pornography case. That priest resigned last week, and now the Archbishop is calling for a new task force to investigate and respond to clergy sexual misconduct cases. Our Ellen Gallus explains how it'll work.
As Catholics head to church Monday, some are praying for peace in the midst of this recent controversy.
We always pray for our priests, and we'll absolutely keep those families in our hearts and our prayers.
Things will come about the way that, the Lord intends them to be, and, we're in full support of the church and Bishop Nienstedt and the diocese.
The Archbishop is calling for action. In a statement, he says, "We hold a sacred trust. There can be no room for misconduct among our clergy, and our standard must be zero tolerance." The Archbishop declined to talk to us on camera, but released information about plans for a new task force. It's being put together by Father Reginald Witt, a Dominican priest from the University of St. Thomas School of Law. He'll select at least 6 members, all of them non-clergy. The sole purpose will be creating policies for preventing, investigating, and responding to sexual misconduct.
No, I don't have any faith in it at all.
Others say that task force is nothing more than a publicity stunt. Members of SNAP, a support network for those abused by priests, gathered outside the cathedral in St. Paul Monday afternoon.
This is the standard PR response by virtually every U.S. bishop when he's been caught in the last decade or longer concealing child sex crimes.
In St. Paul, Ellen Gallus, 5 Eyewitness News.
St. Paul police are also investigating this case. No charges have been filed. The members of that new task force will be announced on Wednesday, and the group will meet for the first time before the week is over.
Stillwater man will spend the next 36 years in prison for his role in last summer's standoff at a Woodbury motel. During that time, Demetrius Ballinger held 11 people hostage and raped 4 teenage girls at gunpoint. According to a criminal complaint, Ballinger told police he raped the teens because he knew he was going to be arrested anyway. One of the victims was misidentified and killed by police while trying to escape. A Duluth head shop owner was convicted in a closely watched federal case involving the sale of synthetic drugs. Today, a federal jury convicted Jim Carlson on 51 of 55 counts for sales from the shop Last Place on Earth. Complex indictment included multiple charges of receiving and selling synthetic drugs. The store is now closed. The trial is seen as one of the first major tests in federal court on how effectively authorities can prosecute synthetic drug laws. Crews are cleaning up a health hazard on the University of Minnesota campus tonight. University officials say 16 dorm rooms tested positive for mold. 8 rooms at Frontier Hall are so bad that the students had to move out. U of M officials say none of the students were seriously hurt, but did have symptoms similar to allergies.
This is typical mold that you would find outdoors. It's the same mold that occurs outdoors can occur indoors when you have excessive humidity conditions inside a room.
It'll take a few weeks to get those 8 rooms back in livable condition. Moody says the air conditioning units could not get the humidity out of the rooms. That created moisture and thus the mold.
On day 7 now of this government shutdown, the impact on Minnesota is growing. Today, state officials notified 105 Minnesota Department of Health workers that they might be laid off because of the shutdown. The employees are in positions that are partially paid for by federal funds. The state's not furloughing them just yet, but it has to give 3 weeks advance warning. They'd be brought back when the shutdown ends. Now, over the weekend, House Speaker John Boehner sounded more emphatic that he is not going to let the House vote on a clean spending bill to get the government open. The clean spending bill would fund the government and include no changes to Obamacare or the Affordable Health Care Plan. Boehner said he doesn't have the votes. President Obama says he could get it done. By ABC's estimates, there are at least 18 House Republicans who would join House Democrats to support that bill. The government's already looking at the next crisis now. In fact, coming up soon, on October 17th, the government will hit its borrowing limit unless Congress votes to raise the debt ceiling.
More than 2,000 Minnesota war veterans are about to miss out on a refundable tax credit. The credit for military service in a combat zone will expire October 15th, 1 week and 1 day from now. The tax credit is for soldiers who served in a combat zone in 2009. Credit is $120 for each month served. Soldiers must file a form to get that tax credit. We have the form for you set up at KSTP.com. A Minnesota native has accomplished something extraordinary, winning a Nobel Prize.
My first reaction was, oh my God, I didn't have anything more articulate to say because my heart was racing.
Dr. Randy Sheckman won the Nobel Prize for medicine for his breakthrough in how substances move around within cells. Disruptions like that can cause diseases like diabetes and brain disorders. Sheckman is a St. Paul native and currently teaches at the University of California, Berkeley. Well, tonight we're asking for your help to keep Minnesota kids warm this winter.
It is night 1 of our annual Coats for Kids campaign. There are 2 ways you can take action. First of all, a $17 donation. That's all it takes, $17. That'll buy a new winter coat for a child. Or you can drop off your gently used coats at Cub Foods or Kowalski stores. And our Dave Dahl gives us a look at what he's donating.
Here in the Dahl household, we have a lot of kids, and thus we have a lot of coats. And we're going to donate these coats. You can do that as well. Just drop off gently used coats at Cub or Kowalski's, or you can buy a coat as well. That'll keep a kid warm this winter season. I said coats, not cats.
Okay, coats. Yes, coats is what we need. Call this number right now, 651-746-3563. Our phone bank will be open until the end of our newscast at 11 o'clock tonight. And still ahead, we run through some of the retailers looking for holiday help this season. You still have time to apply, but not much.
The Vikings brought in quarterback Josh Freeman with the idea to let him play. We'll tell you if that'll be this Sunday against Carolina. Plus, we'll have more reaction coming up in sports.
And I'm Ken Barlow. We spent the whole weekend wallowing in the clouds and 50s. Now that it's Monday, sun and near 70. How about 70s to near 80? That's in the forecast when we come back.
Does this coat still fit you? I don't think it does. Yeah, you're growing like a weed. Probably the case with a lot of parents out there. Their kids just don't fit into coats anymore. The good news is, with the Coats for Kids drive, you can drop them off at Kowalski's Markets or any Cub Foods around town. And if you don't have a closet full of coats, that's okay. You can donate $17 and help out a kid this winter.
Eric Connor's got the right idea. It's time to go through your closets and help out our annual Coats for Kids drive with the Salvation Army. We have a phone bank going on right now. Please call the number on your screen, 651-746-3563. The phone bank is open until the end of this newscast. And it's not really going to be the kind of weather we're going to need coats. We know that's coming eventually, but we'll take the next week.
Boy, is it. Yeah, you know it's out there, Bill, but not quite yet. You're right. You know, this week is going to be more like about a month ago, what the temperatures were around 70, 75 degrees, and in some cases, upper 70s like tomorrow. And the reason why this time of the year, more than really any other except for spring, we do get those south winds roaring up here at 15 to 25 miles an hour and a nearly cloud the sky, which is what we had today. And as I put this through the next 12 hours, you can see we still have limitless sunshine, that strong south wind, all add up to temperatures in the 70s, close to 80 degrees for the day tomorrow. Radar, therefore, is taking a little bit of a break after a busy couple of days. Of course, it was very busy on Friday and Friday night, Saturday on and off busy, Sunday on and off busy. But we've caught up a little bit with our drought situation. Now we kind of can enjoy all the dry, sunny weather without guilt. That's a lesson here. Wet weekend gives way to less guilt. 53 degrees, 54 degrees in Minneapolis, 50 in St. Paul, 40s in the suburbs. The 40s is where most areas will end up. Right in the metro area, probably stopping within a couple of degrees of 50, somewhere around 51, 52 in downtown, and it's already down into the 40s in some spots, like I mentioned, but other areas where it should be falling, they're not yet, because the winds are starting to pick up from the south out here in Wilmer and Redwood Falls. Those areas are still hanging on to the 50s, and in fact, all of South Dakota, except where they got the 58 inches in parts of the Black Hills out there, are still warm. That area is still, of course, like an ice cube, cold at this time of the night, but it will be warming up. All that snow is going to melt in a couple of days. Hard to believe. 54 right now here. Southeast winds at 3. We don't have any frost in the forecast. Typically, by the end of this week, we start to look for about that time to get our first light frost in most of the area, the end of the gardening season. But it's not the case. It's going to be anything but frosty. 78 tomorrow's high, 76 in St. Paul, Eden Prairie 78, and statewide, same deal. It's warm. 71 in Bemidji is about 8 to 9, even 10 degrees above the normal for this time of the year, and they close in on 80 in Redwood Falls. And you say, what clouds? On the cloud tracker, you can pick out a few, but you'll only need one hand to count them in the sky tomorrow. There aren't going to be that many clouds at all. Lots of stars up there tonight, clear, 52 degrees. Tomorrow, look for sunshine, wall-to-wall, a few passing clouds, windy and warm. Again, that south wind and that strong sun at this time of the year equals very much above the normal temps. Normal's about 63. For Wednesday, it's warm too. Thursday's warm into Friday. Then some showers cool it off. It does get cooler for the weekend, but Leah, it's not going to get damp and cooler. It's going to be typically October cooler, but sunny.
Okay, sounds beautiful. In fact, almost 80 degrees tomorrow, and yet we're thinking about this. 'Tis the season to make a little extra spending cash at a holiday job. A lot of employers say they will wrap up their holiday hiring this month. This year, the forecast is for about 700,000 seasonal jobs. Alyssa Hoff is the owner of Creative Hair Design in Rosedale Mall. She says the last couple of years, her business went up 10% during the holiday shopping season, so she's looking for help.
Basically, we're looking for anywhere from 15 hours up to 30 hours, depending on the number of employees. That could be one employer, that could be 3 employees just at a part-time level.
Also at Rosedale, Claire's and Abercrombie and Finch are also hiring. If you have a different store in mind, the best thing to do, just call and ask if they're hiring or show up. Well, we know Walmart's hiring. The world's largest retailer says that it will bring on 55,000 workers to handle the Christmas rush this year. That's 5,000 more than last year. A Walmart spokesperson says the company opened several new stores in 2013, which is partly why the number of seasonal hires is up. On the other hand, though, Target is actually hiring fewer holiday workers this year. Many of their current employees have said that they'd like to work some extra hours during the holidays themselves.
Well, I don't carry a whole lot of these around, but maybe you do. New $100 bills will be showing up at banks early as tomorrow. That's when the Federal Reserve Board says the new currency will begin circulating. You can see one of the new security features here, that blue 3D security ribbon, which makes it easier to authenticate and harder to counterfeit. It'll soon be easier to get from the Twin Cities to the City of Angels. United Airlines is adding 2 daily nonstop flights between Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport and Los Angeles. The new service starts April 1st. The Minneapolis flights will depart at 6 a.m. and 4 p.m. daily. Spirit, Sun Country, and Delta already offer nonstops to L.A. Travel experts say adding new flights to the mix could lower the cost of those flights across the board.
Josh Freeman is hoping a change of scenery can change his NFL story, because right now It's a story of unfulfilled potential. Freeman was cut by Tampa because he could not get along with the coaching staff. He and general manager Rick Spielman think he will find a home in Minnesota.
I felt really comfortable with the conversation I had with Rick Spielman, with Coach Frazier, Coach Musgrave's offense. You know, it was just something about it just felt right in my heart. It felt a great gut feeling. I'm just definitely fired up.
Very familiar with him as a person, and felt very comfortable and confident that we bringing in the quality of not only player but quality of person that into our organization that we strive to go get.
You have to give Christian Ponder a ton of credit. Many pro athletes in his situation would have avoided the media today. Ponder did not. He's a stand-up guy. Ponder is the player who stands to lose the most in this deal. He goes from being the quarterback of the future for the Vikings to a quarterback with a very questionable future with the team that drafted him.
I think Christian still has a bright future here with our football team. It may not look like that on the surface, but Christian is a professional. He's going to work as hard as he can every day to prepare and get back out on the field and help our team win. I mean, he's a pro.
Said, they had so full confidence in me and everything, and again, I mean, I understand his explanation on things, and he told me just to continue to focus on getting healthy.
So what are the Vikings getting in Josh Freeman? He's a guy who comes here with some baggage. Former Gopher quarterback Adam Weber was on the Tampa Bay practice squad last year and says Freeman is a good guy and a talented player.
For him to play his best football, I think he needed a new fresh start. So coming here, it's going to be great for him. He's a very talented quarterback. He has all the tools. He's 6'5", 6'6", 250 pounds, and can throw it a country mile. So he's everything you want in a quarterback. So I'm excited for him. I think it's going to be a great opportunity.
Weber was cut by Tampa in the preseason. He is still hoping to land another job in the NFL. Up next, we get our first look at the new-look Timberwolves as they open the exhibition season. Wolves coach Rick Adelman is not a fan of playing international teams in exhibition games. That's because it's their biggest game of the year every time. The Wolves took on a team from Russia, and Corey Brewer finished off the fast break here. Another new player on the roster, Kevin Martin. He's here because he can do this. He nailed a three-pointer. He scored 16 points. The Wolves, though, went 4 from 20 from three-point range. Alexei Shved played for Moscow 2 years ago. He gave the Wolves a 4-point lead with just over a minute left, but the Wolves lose this one in overtime, 108 to 106. The Tampa Bay Rays really like to play in elimination games. They had to keep winning to play tonight, and tied at 4, bottom of the ninth, and Jose Lobaton will hit a walk-off home run. The Rays have won 4 times in the last week when facing elimination. They won it 5-4. They trailed the best of 5 series, 2-1. Oakland hit 3 home runs against Detroit, but there were fireworks in the 9th inning. Former Twin Grant Balfour and Victor Martinez had words for each other. The bench is cleared. The A's won the game 6-3. They are up 2-1. Next in the nightcap, arriving at your wedding in style. For the nightcap, walking down the aisle apparently was too boring for this couple's wedding, so they arrived this way for their big day. They took a zip line to the ceremony. Going to be the friends and the families, they're all sitting there waiting, and here they come in. Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. Lauren and Ben are from North Carolina. Nothing like a little aerial stunt to start your life together. For their honeymoon, they went bungee jumping. They
have access to that for their honeymoon.
And their hair still look nice after that. That's amazing.
I didn't even look for that, and you would.
It's a big thing on a wedding day, of course.
Very nice. Staying warm around here.
Staying beautiful, yeah. Temperatures tomorrow warmer than today. Today was warmer than this weekend, which you didn't have to go too far to do that, but temperatures today were 67. Tomorrow, at least 10 degrees warmer. Wednesday about the same. Thursday maybe a little bit cooler on Friday too. Couple of showers later Friday. The difference between this weekend and this upcoming weekend is that this upcoming weekend skies will clear out. It won't stay gloomy the whole time. 62 will be cooler, but that's average. Sun will be out. All is good with the world, and still no frost. My garden is still putting out tomatoes.
About as good as we can hope for this time of year.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Thanks again, and thank you all for joining us tonight.
Have a great night.